Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Swimrun Show podcast. So this week we have 3 guests. We've got Jude Palmer and Paul Mackenzie from South East Swimrun down in southeast of England. We also have Chloe Rafferty from Love Swimrun up in North Wales. Before we get to those great guests, guys, we've got a lot of queries, interests, questions about Swimrun Liverpool, the Eliminator, which is on the 18th of May, a great season starter for the UK swimrun scene. So yeah, just a couple of questions I'll just answer here. It's all on the website, but sometimes it's nice to hear from the horse's mouth. And here we go. So it's a lap, a 2.5 kilometre lap, which you could do 6 times if you make the cut-off after each lap. And the amount of time you get decreases as the laps increase. So lap 1, for example, you've got 25 minutes to complete. And that's 2 kilometers of running, 500 meters of swimming. Okay, so that makes 2.5k in total. The lap is split into 3 runs and 2 swims. And it's a solo-only race. And the idea is, anyone can enter who can swim and run. It's flat, it's not hilly, the water hasn't got currents and tides. It should be relatively calm. It could be really calm. It could be a bit windy, you never know, obviously. Water temp will probably be around 15, maybe 16, so not too bad. And the longest swim is only 300 meters. So, those kind of stats give you an idea. It's all on the website anyway. I'm expecting most people to, do lap 1, lap 2, starts to filter down a little bit at lap 3 and lap 4, and then lap 5 and 6 will be quite fast. But, it's a lot of fun and a great starter. So check it out, weswimrun.org. There's a link to it. And speaking about starter events and kind of inclusion of people who just want to have a go at swimrun, the guests we're going to hear from, Paul, Jude, and Chloe, all very much very encouraging. You get very friendly vibes from their events. So yeah, let's crack on with it. Here we go. First up, we've got Jude Palmer and Paul Mackenzie. So how are things looking? What's first up on the series, Paul?
Well, we're into our 3rd year, and we have a new venue to kick off the series this year. So we're going to a lovely lake that's now an exclusively sort of swimming and paddleboarding lake, Keys Lake in Mitchett. So we've got a really good reception. We've opened up bookings, and we've got tickets are selling well there. And we've got 2 course lengths. So there's a 2.5k course. And that's has a lot of people who are just trying it for the first time, and then a slightly longer 5k course for that event.
Great, that sounds good. What's the date for that one, Paul?
So
19th of May. We like to kick off the first of the season. We love that because we get loads of people who've never done it before, but also people who are like, it's a great way of testing out your kit, isn't it? Testing out a new partnership, just almost getting yourself back into swimrun mode.
Yeah. 19th. So we've got a back-to-back that weekend, 18th of May up in Liverpool, and then down at the Keys Lake on the Sunday. This is a great start to the season.
Yeah.
So brilliant. So that's Keys Lake, cool. And then you've got one in June.
June the 23rd. We've got 23rd, we've got Thames Young Mariners, which we love because it has a cargo net climb and then a big jump back into the water. And so that's it's a great one, isn't it? It's a little bit of, I think that brings the essence of swimrun. There's a little bit of the unknown. There's a bit of drama in the middle of it. Down south, we may not have those wonderful mountains or coastlines of Cornwall, but what we do have is a little bit of fun going down at Thames Young Mariners. Plus, it's super accessible. People can get the bus there, they can get the walk there. So that's the 23rd of June, and then our last event is the 8th of September, and that's at Longside Lake in Egham. Again, super accessible. But we're excited, aren't we, Paul? Because we've this is quite inspired. We found a 10k route because we wanted to make it a bit longer. And then we went round this 10K route, and we were like, it's really boggy in places. Oh, I don't know about this. You know, we want to make sure everyone has a great time. And then both Paul and I went off and did Rockman in Norway, 42K, something like that, quite a long time out on the course. And we both came back and went, right, let's just crack on with this 10K. It may be boggy. If we need to embody Rockman, which we thought was awesome. So yeah, we got a little bit of Rockman in Egham.
That sounds very good. And so just going back to Thames Young Mariners, is that obviously it's on the River Thames?
Well, it's a little lake that is river fed. And it's got kind of lock gates, so it's just below Teddington. So it sort of sits between Richmond upon Thames and Kingston on Thames. So when the tide comes in, if they open their lock gates, their lovely little lake fills up, and then they close their lock gates. And who cares what the tide's doing? You've got a full lake of water. So that is where we're swimming in their lake, if you like. Rather than the actual bustle and flow of the main river. So we use sort of their land, and then we kind of break out onto the towpath and have a bit of running around their towpath and adjacent common land.
Cool. That sounds great. And that's the one with the jump and the cargo net.
It is,
yeah. Cool. And then Egham's got the 10K. Is that right?
We think we're gonna, we've got a pretty good route there. We're gonna ask some of our fellow favourite swim runners to come and try it out. We think that's a bit of fun actually.
Cool.
And I think
South East, you're kind of stuck, aren't you? We don't, we wanted to bring the swim run to the South East for a long time, and I think I've always been on about the swim run in the UK has to have its own flavour, and so our own flavour in the South East is that we don't have a lot of land access. You're going to be all over people's lands. It's very tight. There's lots of people. So where we can find a space to put in a little run or extra run, we will. But that's not always possible. But we make up for that in making it super sort of friendly and accessible for people to have a go.
Cool.
The other thing that's probably fairly unique for our courses is the 5K routes is pretty much 50% swimming and 50% running. So there's a considerable swim, percentage terms, that's very high. It's a considerable swim distance, broken up as you would expect. I think we've got 8 segments in the 5K routes. So there's plenty of in and outs and different in and outs, and you don't really do the same bit twice within the lap. And so that's sort of, some people are like, oh, well, 5K doesn't sound quite as far as I was thinking. But then when they look at the swim distance, they're like, oh, that's plenty of swimming for some people.
Yeah. No, I was going to ask about that. That sounds really good, actually. Yeah, that's good to know. And so I know, so Egham, whereabouts is Egham? Is that?
South East, Mike.
Well, yeah. Where exactly?
It's very close.
25. Is it Junction? Oh, Paul, Junction 11. We go there.
I'm thinking more train. Is there a train station? I'm just thinking of.
I think it's West Virginia. Oh, Virginia Water. Sorry, Virginia. West Virginia. It's Virginia Water.
A minute ago.
So it literally is. It's interesting. It is literally beside the M25, and if you look at it on a map, you'd think, oh dear, that's a little bit, what's the noise of the motorway? But actually, it's quite well shielded with trees. And once you're on site, you wouldn't really.
It's got an island. That's the best thing, isn't it? It's got an island you can go swim round. So once Paul and I call it the jungle. Sort of, the Amazon. Once you're down one side of the island, it feels really different. You haven't got anywhere you can get out, so it feels a bit like some of the other swim runs.
So so it sounds good. The reason I am asking for specifics here, Jude, is I get the feeling that your races, there's potential to cycle and train, or just train. Public transport is more so than some of the others in the UK.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay. Like Thames Young Mariners, we get people turning up on their bikes. Like Simon Griffiths walks there, sort of thing. Yeah, I think that's for sure, and that's what's really good, isn't it? It can be quite hard, can't it, to get a sort of a wild feeling event in a place that's accessible. They don't necessarily go together. And Paul and I see that with a lot of the other work we do around sort of social prescribing. But we think, yeah, you can get there, if you have, if you want to go rather than by car.
Yeah.
Indeed. In fact, the Thames Young Mariners is served within the area of Lime bikes. So
Yeah.
you can hop off the train and pick up one of those rented bikes and leave it at the
Paul, we
gate.
could have like a swim. We could like add that into it, couldn't we? Then we could like a course leg could be a line bike. First, you have to find one, then you have to get on it.
Or you have to download the app first.
Download the app.
Yeah, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, very good. Very good. So that's one for the triathletes amongst the listeners.
Watch this space next year.
So brilliant. Well, they sound great. I will try and get to at least one.
Well, I came to see you the other day, and Friday I was coming to Liverpool. I was like, let's come and find out. But it looks a great spot.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You had looks that
one in Liverpool looks really cool.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. So before that, though, we are lucky that Jude is the chief coordinator doer on the National Outdoor Expo, where quite a few swimrun organisers and swimrun folk are going. What's the latest on that, Jude? Do you have any info?
I guess the latest is we are, this is all about bringing swimrun to more people, isn't it? And then there's quite a few swim organisers feel really strongly that collaborating and sort of showing what an exciting, diverse sort of setup we have in the UK. And I come back to this, I've done swimrun for a long time, and I feel quite a bit of an old bird doing it sometimes. Yeah. Definitely grey bird doing it. And I think we have our own flavour in the UK. And I think for a long time people thought, we've got to sort of be like the Swedes. And actually I think we have this amazing variety in the UK that's super exciting. And, it's never the same. And I was really keen that we could show that and ultimately encourage more people to have a go, because we love it, don't we? If you can run, you can swim, run. So we all love doing that. Now, how cool is that to get other people to join in that sort of adventure, whether or not they're never going to do something like that again, or they're really expert and they really want to push the time. And so the expo is all about having a very small selective stand. So don't expect glossy, amazing space guys, but do expect to meet a load of really passionate people like us a lot, and to ask all your swimrun questions. I think Paul's going to be hosting the how many swimming hats you can put on your head. Looking forward to seeing that.
Nice.
Mike, yeah, I can see that. We're hoping that the amazing Nauka, who people know and love, they're going to be running and kickstarting their sort of splash and dash event. And so we were like, well, we this is our bread and butter. We can do that. And so we're going to help them sort of run effectively a swim run event in the lake there.
Cool.
So people can take part and watch. And, I think it's all about showing that there's this amazing sort of variety across the UK, and come along. If you love outdoor stuff, I mean, the Outdoor Expo is it's sort of heaven. There's kit, there's amazing celebs, there's amazing inspiring people. Yeah. Why not come along and see it?
And so that's at the NEC, and it's in March. I think it's
23rd, 24th of March.
23rd, 24th. And in fact, we've got a link that you can share, and you can share for free tickets for entry. So
cool. Yeah, brilliant. I'll put that in the show notes. Yeah, that sounds great. So the lake now, I guess it'll be not a heated lake.
Not a heated lake, no. Funny,
cool.
Do you have a heated lake?
Solar heating.
Heated by the sun. That's what we like. Right. Good. Yeah, so that sounds good. Okay, I'll bring a couple of swim hats to that one.
Dude, I just give it a laugh. I mean, I think it's almost showing that, we're a great bunch, aren't we? And we do grassroots really well in the UK around swimrun. We pride ourselves on having, we have homemade cake. I think one of the biggest things really actually made me sort of gave a tear in my eye at one of our events is that everyone stayed, the winners all stayed, and they formed an arch for that last person coming over the line. And Paul and I were like, that sort of ticked the box of what we want to achieve with the South East Swimrun series. Yeah. That feeling of actually, everyone's done it, no matter where you end up, sort of thing. Yeah. And help each other along the way.
Yeah, that is important. So just rewinding a bit there, Jude, to your start in the sport of swimrun. When did it all start for you?
So I did my first swim run in 2016. And it was kind of when there weren't really that any swim runs in the UK, but I'd seen it. I'd seen it on Facebook, and I'd seen it. I'm like, I'd done quite a few triathlons, done quite a lot of adventure stuff, and been in the mountains. I thought, this looks and completely, I'm going to have a go. And I had a couple of mates, and the one for the event we were looking at, go big or go home, was Brecca Bottomere.
Ooh.
Yeah, oh yeah, Mike. It was definitely ooh, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And that was brutal. But I'm like, the swims are like being in a washing machine. And I remember my teammate at the time. I went through every single photograph I could see of swimrun in the UK to see what they were wearing, to see what they were doing, and it was all about let's just go and have a go, because it kind of feels free. It's not as rigorous as triathlon, and that was what started. And we did the Brecca Bottomere, and I've never had to wear a swim hat to protect myself from hailstones on Hollister Pass. And I've never looked at sort of salted crisps with so much love and affection as they had a checkpoint on there. But that feeling of being out in the wilds was, that was it. And that was it. I was smitten. And so I've gone on and just done a lot of long course and a lot of team events, sort of, VAR, 1,000 Lakes, swim, Scilly Isles, a lot of the Mad Hatter ones, anything that's a bit, I don't know, it's the places it takes you, isn't it? In your head and physically.
So were you at Buttermere 2016?
I think we might have been the same one then.
Yeah. Oh, that for me, I think that was still the hardest race. It was, in a way, I thought it was harder than Engadin, harder than the World Champs in a way, but having said that, when did the World Champs, we weren't racing it, we were just finishing it. So whereas at Buttermere, we were racing, or trying to race. So yeah, there's that element of it. But yeah, that was a tough course. It was a tough course,
wasn't it? That was proper fell running, and just like some of those swims were just like, it was literally you're picking your hand up, weren't you, and being knocked sideways.
Yeah. Good stuff.
There was a bit of crying. I might have admitted that. There was a bit of crying. Not from me.
Right. Well, that's a great start. Paul, how about yourself? When did it all start for you?
Well, for me, it was also Brecca. And we thought Jersey sounds lovely and sunny, and so yeah, it was a team. I think we were all team events then, weren't they? On Jersey, and so I think it might have been 2018. You talking about dates? I'm going to have to look it up, but I persuaded somebody who I worked with that this was a good idea, and then ensued kind of trying to teach them to swim a bit better, and the usual sort of what are we going to wear, and buying different wetsuits and what have you. So that was good. The year before had been really rough, so that put my partner off because he saw the waves and sort of trying to land on some of those beach outs, and it was kind of quite challenging. So we actually had quite a fine set of weather came in, which nice. Meant we didn't have the hailstones that you're referring to, but then done a whole bunch, like Jude says. I think most of us, you do one or two and think this is fantastic. It's challenging. It's in a fantastic location, or usually, and it's the camaraderie of, it's not there's somebody in front of us, quick, let's push them out the way while we gain 5 seconds. It's, can I help them down, or do I need to put my hand out to help them get out of the water? And, you sort of have a few moments of chatting as you're doing so, rather than, but then, once you're on the run, yes, of course you're competing. So, but in terms of reflecting on the hardest ones, yes, I did Rockman in the summer over in Norway. I think drawing a partner that was the Fred Newton, who was probably nearly half my age and twice my height, and is lots very fit, was I don't know if that was a blessing or not, but anyway, we had a great laugh around the course, and that was a good course.
Brilliant.
I think you think some of the ones like we went up. Paul and I went down to see Chelsea and Nikki as keen as mustard, and the weather was rubbish, wasn't it, Paul? We got there and we're like, oh, it's going to be all right. It's flat. I mean, it's on the river, for God's sake. It's flat. It's like, it's Cambridge. Hello. And I remember Chelsea doing the briefing and going, yeah, there's a little splash, you can dash through and part of the river section. And Paul and I were like, oh, how lovely. We work in rivers all the time. Oh my God. We were like hanging on to branches. Like we couldn't, it was really tough. But I also remember, Paul, don't you remember the old folk paid because we're quite, experienced around river work. And then I remember everyone sort of getting into the middle of the river and trying to swim against the current in the middle. And Paul and I have never hugged the bank so much. So a little bit of knowledge goes a long way on that. It was a good event. They've
Brilliant.
never forgotten it.
Well, that is the good thing about, I think, the UK, because good and bad, but the weather's so unpredictable. Even in the summer, it's never going to be the same course, really, is it? Any other races?
No, it's never going to be the same course. And I've done Jersey and Scilliars is classic, isn't it? Because what it is for the person at the front, it will be different from the person 40 people back. Yeah. And it's having that, and it's like that's what's magical about it. It's almost like it's almost unique to your experience.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, brilliant. So, kind of linking on to some of the points there, we've got a couple of questions from the audience.
Oh.
I'll ask you both the first one, but one of you might be best placed to answer it. From Katie, what do you wear next to skin? I think she's talking.
Shall I answer? I mean, Paul could tell you about his pants, but do you know what? I think there's something around doing this because I get asked a lot about this. Mm-hmm. I think it matters. It's all about trying it before you find out. I personally depends. I'll always wear a sports bra. That's a personal preference, and I'll either wear a full swimming costume. Or if it's a very long course and I might need to go to the loo, I'll wear a bikini. Mm-hmm. I've also on cold, if I know it's going to be a cold event, I really don't like wearing arms on my wetsuit. So I have done in the past, for example, I wear, where was that? 1,000 Lakes I wore, and I've done a couple of German swim runs. And I remember my teammate was Swedish and he was like, oh, it's going to be really, it's going to be cold. And I'm like, oh my God, the Swede's saying it's going to be cold. It's really bad. And so I wore like a long sleeve rash vest. But there's no right or wrong, is there? I think the thing is, don't think there's this thing you can tick the box and get it. Go and try what you've already got. And if it chases, it's not, get something different. I think I definitely wear something because the last thing I want to do is go, I'm naked. For whatever reason, but you can edit that out, Mike. But yeah, I think it's there's no right or wrong. People go, can I won't it absorb water? Generally not, unless you're wearing some sort of crinoline type thing.
So that was good. That was a good tip there. The bikini for the long course, because obviously easier to manage if you need to do something. And then, but you always wear a sports bra, whether you're wearing a bikini or a
that's my preference. Okay. I cannot run without a sports bra on. A lot of people say, don't they absorb water? Yeah, but that, not really. It's like your shoes. People go, don't they absorb water? Well, not really, do they? Everyone's fascinated by the shoes. Yeah. What have you heard of shoes for? We were using to run with, not swim with.
Yeah. Have you heard of the swinging?
Yeah. There's someone I shall not remain named has ginger hair. It's gives everyone actually to try out. I wouldn't mind trying it out. And I think these things are great. I'm a real thing about access. Let's not put barriers to people entering and saying you have to have certain kit. You don't need a special kit. Let's go back to the roots of how Swimrun started. It was people cutting their wetsuits off, carrying, blow up Nokia phones and rucksacks. If you can do it with what you've got, do it. I mean, I remember I made some of my equipment to start with. So everyone, you can buy kangaroo tops now, to stuff your paddles in. That, I made one of those to start with. Yeah. That worked.
Yeah. Well, in the UK, pretty sure no one's saying you've got to have this or that, particularly with underwear.
Yeah, no one.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of sport. You feel like we get a lot of people for outdoor swimming. Do I need to have a robe? Do I? And we're like, no, just get what you've got in your wardrobe. Pretty sure it'll be okay. You don't need special trainers. What do you normally run in?
Exactly. Yeah. Good advice there from Jude and Paul. What? Because out of interest, Katie might be interested as well, or other male listeners might be interested in your pants. So what do you, if you wear pants? I'm not sure.
That's right.
What do you wear, Paul?
I've never had any interest in my pants, but no, I actually wear a pair of swimming trunks.
Right.
And but not the budgie smugglers. So just and then that's always worked fine for me.
No, cool. It's as Jude said, and you've alluded to there, Paul. It's not that complicated, and yeah, you've got to try a few things and not worry about it too much.
Before I did, I don't know what about you, Mike, but I went off and did a half marathon in my wetsuit. I looked like a complete, and I remember my mate. In fact, it's a guy we know, Rory Paul. And he was on the marsh, and he just kept going, "You do know you're wearing a wetsuit, don't you?" And I was like, "Really?" He didn't, but do you know what? It was great because you don't have to do a half marathon. That was a bit extreme, but even if you just go and do a run, you're going to work out what fits, what doesn't work, pretty quickly.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You make friends with the neighbours.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's a great thing to do, and it is on the run that you might have issues with the what. So that's definitely a good.
Well,
the
Jersey.
Tip.
The Jersey course does actually have a half marathon in the middle of it. So, you can get some significant run segments.
Yeah.
I didn't realise it had a half marathon until I was sat on the plane with my teammate, Pat. We'd had a bit of a moment. We'd forgotten to get any, really professionals. We'd forgotten to get any snacks to take with us or fuel. So she was running around at 6 o'clock that morning, knocking on a neighbour's house to go. I went and raided my mate's trail running bag of gels. And then on the flight, I remember going, "Have you read the course, Pat?" And she went, "This is a half marathon." No idea. I recommend that. It's a great sort of, don't have a clue.
Yeah. There is something especially adventurous when you haven't got a clue. But fun too. So next question from Sarah. And I think some of the organisers have discussed this topic. Do you have to wear a wetsuit?
Oh, it's a good one. Go for it, Paul. We've got different answers, haven't we?
Yeah. So I think the answer is there's not no, you don't have to. There is not a universal UK requirement or stipulation that covers all events. So, if you're looking at entering, and whether you're going to need to wear a wetsuit or not is going to kind of be quite important to you, then really read the rules and understand them. So for our events, there's one venue that we've talked about which has the cargo net climb and jump, and the risk assessment of the venue requires everyone to have a wetsuit for that. So that's really for sort of chafing and scratching if you're kind of climbing up the cargo net. Perhaps provides a bit of extra protection when you jump in the water as well. But other than that, ours is water temperature, but also actually, we're using water temperature. There's a big impact of the air temperature, and because we've got lots of in and outs, as most venues do, it's really easy to get cold. So if you're just doing it in depends. If there's no requirement, you might not be doing it in much more than a swimming costume. It's very easy to get cold on the run. So, so for ours, it's it's personal choice. If the water's above the trigger temperature, which I think is 14.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's easy, isn't it, to say, "Oh, I can do those swims without a wetsuit," but I think it's thinking about the whole course and the whole time you're out there. And there's definitely, probably like you guys, like there's sometimes I thought, I'm really glad I've got a wetsuit. I mean, remember coming out of the rocks on Roseland down in Cornwall and thinking, really glad I got a wetsuit on, because actually I'd have some lovely grazes on my bum cheeks, sort of thing. So I think it's thinking about that. But I think then I think wetsuits put people off, but it doesn't have to be special.
No.
The other thing, I guess, is put sometimes, long socks. I always run
Yeah,
in
me too.
long, run long socks, and they actually, whether it's little bits of bramble or other bits and pieces, can give you some protection. And the wetsuit's an extension of the amount of protection you're going to get.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be special. There's lots of very cheap, even just shorties if you're just starting out. And your events are fantastic for trying this kit out. The distances.
We deliberately, we really aim at that, don't we, Paul? And then we also have these have a go sessions because, like, you and I went and did Brecca Buttermere, right? Because we're slightly mad. But I think a lot of people, and we do a whole lot of stuff across different sports and coach people, and there's a lot of people want that sort of a bit of familiarity. They want to see what they're doing. They don't want to look fool. So can they try it out? And so we have loads of pool boys. We have paddles, but really paddles are another one. Please don't get hung up on paddles before you don't overcomplicate things. And we get people to try out stuff. And I go down and help Nikki and Chelsea as keen as mustard. And it's wonderful, isn't it? You've got people going, oh, I can't really do this. And all they need is a little bit of support and a little bit of coaching. And then they're like, oh, I can do it. And you're like, that's brilliant. That's why I do it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. And when do you have a go set? You've got one in early May, is it, Jude?
12th of May.
12th of May. And
that's at Keys as well.
Keys.
So Mitchell, yeah.
It just helps people become familiar with, kind of what's it entail and how quickly are people going to be running out the water, and am I going to get knocked over in the rush? And the reality is no, probably not.
No.
Not much of a rush.
No, probably helped out, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. Brilliant. So great questions there from Katie and Sarah. We've just touched on the footwear, and as you said, Jude, it's very much what you're normally running, isn't it? Just when you're starting out, if you're already trail running, then you kind of know what you're wearing on your feet, and then eventually you might look at other options. Depending on the distance you're covering. But yes, as you say, it's not as complicated as sometimes.
Honestly, I'm a trail running coach, so I get it. I'm asked constantly, and there's this perception that if there's a brand that's best, there's this amount of money I have to spend that's best, and there really isn't. You look at the latest evidence. There's some great podcasts around. If a 25 quid a pair of shoes from sport Decathlon work, great. I remember sitting and watching. I was in Navarre for a Tilo event, and I was doing the long course, and I remember Saturday watching and taking photos of the sprint. I saw every brand of trainer known to humankind. The thing is, it's what you're running in. It's not, don't worry about swimming. And I think I see lots of people going, I must have these special shoes, and actually all they do is go from the shoe they're really comfortable in to one they're not comfortable in. You're just going to cause an injury. So just go in what you're comfortable in, and gives you. So first thing, I'm always like, is it comfortable? And then is it sort of fit for purpose? As in, does it give you confidence on the terrain you're likely to encounter? I might say that a few times.
Yeah, pick it up on that. There's a kind of a concept that people will think, I've got, this is my swim run shoe. And in fact, it depends on the course. So some courses are really muddy and slippy, and you might sort of want a mud claw. You might want something that's got lots and lots of grip. Other courses where you might be predominantly flat and sort of it's not going to be that challenged on the grip. Then you can have a shoe with slightly less grip. It's just like running and trail running. In the winter you might have a different set of shoes to in the summer. So
the other thing is, we get people get in the water. People go, well, I get people go, oh well, they won't float, or they'll sink. I'm like, really? So get in the water and get someone to watch you. It's the same with paddles. I have to have paddles. Well, hang on a minute. Get some data. How fast do you go with them on compared to how fast do you go without them on? What do your feet look? Where are they? Paul and I know pretty much the shoe is a minor detail around swim technique. There's way many things we can do to improve someone's swimming than what is on their feet.
Yeah, definitely. And And when you're talking about the paddles there, looking at each, as Paul said, each course is different. Each longest swim is different. So yeah, look at the swims, the full amount of swimming, the longest swim, shortest swim, how many swim, all that can feed into your thinking. But certainly, if it's your first swim run, well, I think it's not a bad idea not to have paddles. Not only you might not be used to them, but just that you've got your fingers that you can use more dexterously. And then
I remember the amount of, was it the Isles of Scilly? The amount of sort of like, a beautiful sort of spaghetti seaweed.
Yeah.
And I remember trying to climb out with paddles on, going, yeah, that's great. Yeah. If you train with paddles on all the time, year round, crack on.
Yeah.
But the chances are, you're just going to tire yourself out and getting injured. And or you do what I do, which is sit at the back of the toe, and then I don't have to use them. And Pat does all the work. It's great.
Yeah.
My Pat.
Good stuff. So I know you're very busy organising races and all sorts of stuff. Do you have any swim runs you'd like to take part in this year?
Well, I've just was looking at the Isles of Scilly series of options. So I've been there, but I've not done a swim run there. So I've got that, and I know that takes a bit of extra logistics to work out, but I think it's going to definitely be worthwhile.
Nice tidal flow on Scilly.
Yeah,
you'll be sorted, Paul, because you know how it works. I think I'm always like, oh, where can I go? Where can I go? Where can I go? So I really want to go down and see John at Mad Hatter for the Yeager Ribbon, or that. The Roseland was brutal. I love those sorts of courses. I really like to come up to you guys. I was looking at yours. I was on the phone to Chloe from Love Swimrun. Yeah, I mean, there's so many, isn't there? I love exploring. So ones that make you takes you somewhere. And also, there's something really cool. I mean, I've got mates all around the world from Swimrun. It's so nice to see familiar faces, isn't it? And do that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, great. Anywhere there's a Swimrun, I'll do it.
There's definitely a lot of choice this year in the UK, for sure. All sorts of distances and formats.
Yeah, which is cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So definitely, guys, if you haven't already booked your tickets for the Old Outdoor National Expo show, that would be a good place to start the ball rolling.
Find the people wearing wetsuits. That'll be us.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. And
thanks for having us.
Definitely see you in March 23rd and 24th.
Yeah.
And catch you up then.
That's Mike.
Well,
see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
See you soon, guys. Okay, so that was a great vibe from the South East Swimrun team, Paul and Jude there. They've got races, 2.5K, so pretty accessible, I would say. They sound like pretty flat courses, relatively calm, so get involved. On the note of workshops, I know Jude's got one down in the Southeast there. We've added one due to popular demand in Liverpool on the 11th of May. So if you want, it's a solo specific one. So it's a bit more compressed and focused on the guys who just want the solo details. So we'll cover everything in terms of what you need to know, kits, adaptations. We've got stuff you can try out. So check that out. It's on the website, WeSwimrun.org. Our major kind of big swimrun workshop that covers team racing, towing, and all that stuff as well. That's in Wales. We've only got 3 places left on that one, and it's over across 2 venues. That is like the comprehensive package. So that's it's a Monday, Bank Holiday Monday, 27th May. Just 3 places left on that. So check it all out, WeSwimrun.org. Click on the workshop link. Moving on, Chloe Rafferty up in North Wales. I've been to quite a few of Chloe's events over the years, the inaugural Clanberis, and quite a few others. I'm pretty sure myself and Paul Skipper have the course record for the team category in Clanberis, and myself and my sister, Helen Skipper, I think we got mixed category course record. But who's counting? Just setting out a challenge for you guys, you teams out there. So let's go on. Let's crack on. Here we go. Chloe Rafferty. Boom. Okay, so a big welcome to Chloe Rafferty from Love Swimrun up in North Wales. Chloe, how are you doing up there?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yes,
Pleasure.
honoured to be on your podcast.
Oh, of course. Thank you for coming on. So, Chloe, I've known Chloe for a while now. I think she organised the first swim run race in the UK, well, in Wales, back in 2016, was it?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, cool. And so, Chloe, you did a swim run before. When did you get started? What event was that, and where was it?
Yeah, so my first swimrun event I took part in was in 2015, and it was organised by Swimrun UK. I don't think they're going anymore, and it was the swimrun in Loch Lomond. I think it was one of the first to take place in the UK that year. I think that was the year that Swimrun came to the UK. So I'd never heard of Swimrun until I heard about this event, which my friend put me onto. And I thought, oh, this sounded like a great adventure. I was into running and I was into swimming. So the problem for me was that you had to be a team. So Swimrun then was a real kind of team sport, and finding somebody that was willing to do it for a start, because it was a pretty big race. It was sort of half marathon of running and about 8k of swimming. Finding somebody that was willing and able to do that with me was really hard going. So I eventually found a guy I used to work with when I was down in Bristol, and didn't know him very well. I just knew he did triathlons. He agreed to do it with me. But obviously I was up in Wales, he was down in Bristol, so we didn't get to train together. We just kind of chatted a bit and told each other what we were doing, and sounded fairly compatible. So anyway, did a lot of training for that. Spent a lot of money, obviously, getting up to Scotland, accommodation, the entry fee to the event, all the gear, It was funny, actually. The gear thing was funny because, that was really when, swimrun was quite in its infancy, so you didn't have all the gear that you have now. So I'd never heard of a swimrun wetsuit. I had a little sort of shorty triathlon-y type wetsuit thing. And you had to kind of make your own pool buoys and put bits of string on your hand paddles and stuff. So headed up to Scotland, met James, and we went for a little training swim, which didn't go too well. So I was not kind of I was a bit anxious then. So anyway, next morning we met early, set off at the start of this race to start swimming across all the islands in Loch Lomond. And by the end of the first swim, we were dead last. And we turned out not to be very compatible. Poor James was struggling, and I pretty much pulled him across the lake. The first big hill, that Conic Hill, I literally pulled him up that, carried him down, and then unfortunately he decided he didn't want to carry on. So I was pretty gutted, and they wouldn't let me carry on my own as a solo. So I had to quit as well. So I was absolutely gutted about this. And on the way home, I was complaining about it. And my partner, Johnny, at the time said, well, you should organise a swim run. Why don't you kind of make one that's a bit more accessible? Shorter distances, do it as a solo. And I had never organised anything before in my life, but I decided that was a good idea. And
Brilliant.
Here we are. That was the birth of Love Swimrun Llanberis. And the next 2016, it happened.
Yeah, quite a story. So yeah, that's from maybe a challenging experience came an opportunity, and
Exactly.
and that definitely, Chloe's races have definitely had that accessibility, give it a try, focus for sure from the start. So that makes sense. That's where you've come from.
Yes.
Just on the swim there. Just so you had a bungee with your partner back then. What was his name again? Sorry.
Bungee, but I would he would sort of hold on to my feet and I'd try and pull him a bit, or I'd just do a lot of waiting around, which of course meant I got very, very cold. But
Right.
yeah, so yeah, it was just a lot of hanging around and doing my best to tow him or push him, and yeah, yeah. It's that's one of the hard things about swim run. I mean, doing it with somebody when I've done swim runs with partners, you know, it's a really special experience to share that with somebody, to work as a
Yeah.
team and to get through it and to push each other. You know, when you're both struggling, you can take turns kind of taking the lead. It's a brilliant experience, but it's a difficult one because well, firstly, a lot of people don't have anyone to do it with, and even if you have got people to do it with, it's finding somebody that really matches your strengths and abilities, because it's to a certain degree you can have a stronger swimmer and a stronger runner, but if the gap gets too big, then you do start holding each other back. So it's a real balance, and it kind of depends on what you want out of it, whether you want that kind of fun team experience or whether you really want to race. So yeah. And how have you found it? Because you've raced with lots of different partners.
Yeah. All great experiences, but different. So there's a few I've raced with quite a lot, and that's like solid, including my sister, my brother-in-law, and a good friend. And then a few that I've met on the day. One of your events up in Clanberis, met Matthew, who was great swimmer, great runner. Unfortunately, we're at the front at the start, which is great. I think we went too fast at the start, and we missed a turning, carried on along the lake. So we added a bit of distance, but it wasn't anything to do with the partnership. That was just we've just missed it. So that was great. The only too excited, definitely. Yeah, the only negative, well, not negative, the only one that was unusual was in Croatia, and similar experience where, well, let's just say we got split up on the swim, and I wasn't allowed to carry on as a solo, which is fine, but it was still great. The thing is, I don't know if your partner up in Scotland there, we similar swim speeds on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. And some people look at the pool times and go, yeah, we're about the same, but then they turn up in Scotland at a lake, and one is much more comfortable in cold water, one's much more comfortable in the wind, and one with all the kit swimming. And some people maybe haven't trained with all the kit on, so it's not just take your pool time and match it to Freddie down the road. There's a few dynamics, isn't there?
There's definitely as well, and with the running, somebody can be a runner, on the flat, and then if you're like me, I'm much better at running uphill than I am at running on the flat because I live at the bottom of a mountain. So it's there's a kind of real particular kind of fitness skills, aren't there, in the different things that you do and the way you train. So finding a match can be hard.
Yeah. But as you say, if you've got the kind of just want to, if you're just starting out and you want to try it and have the experience, and don't mind, occasionally you'll go a bit slower than you might, or a bit faster than you might, or usually a bit slower than you might think you would normally. That's okay if you've got that mentality. And then if you want to race, then it gets a bit more, I suppose, you've got to put a bit more training in together, I guess, out there, haven't you?
You've got to train together and practice the conditions and different terrain, and that's the important thing. I think definitely got to train with somebody, make sure that you're compatible.
Coolio. And next up we have just before we get you to swim runner events, I've noticed you're bringing back the winter swim challenge up in Clanberis there.
Yes, so that last run in 2019, pre-COVID. It was just pre-COVID the last time I ran the winter swim. And it was great fun. Yeah, we had about 150 people then, it's just a real fun kind of swimming gala type event. So there's slight distances between 50 meters up to 500 meters, silly hats and fancy dress and all that kind of thing. I decided to bring it back this year, mainly because I noticed there weren't many other winter swim events running. There seemed to be a few new ones had come up over the last few years. So I hadn't kind of put it back on again, but there didn't seem to be anything happening, so I thought, oh well, there's a little gap there, and I've got about 160 people entered now, so
brilliant
out on the north. It's gonna be fun.
Great. That is a great one. There's all sorts, isn't it, from 50 meters, as you say, up to 500 meters, with different strokes, different hats, all sorts of good fun, and it's great training for the Cool Mile as well in April.
Cool Mile coming up in April, haven't you? So
So yeah, I'll put the links to those down in the show notes. And yeah, that's great training, guys. For if I know some people don't like cold water, but if you're half tempted for a bit of cold water, you've been swimming through the winter, perhaps get involved in those. You might even meet a swim run partner for the future at one of those events.
Yeah. You might indeed. Yeah, but
so,
come and have a go. Yeah, it's all about loads of prizes to give away as well. So yeah.
Oh, good. Good stuff. Right then. So Llanberis. So you organised the first swim run in Wales in Llanberis. What year was that, Chloe?
Yeah, that was 2016. It happened. Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, in Llyn at Llanberis. So yeah, that I think we had about 100 people at the first one, which was a great number. It was super exciting. So it was that year we just did one distance, so we had 16 kilometres, which doesn't sound like very much, but actually it's quite a challenging course, quite a few hills in there, and just kind of in and out of the lake, but there's some really kind of exciting little kind of sections of the lake with little lagoons you can swim through. So we have people sort of running to one end of the lake, going up through the woodlands, coming back down. So by the time you'd finished, you'd done the whole length of the lake, and you'd kind of been up into the big slate quarries with amazing views and all the history up there. So it was a cracker. Really good.
Yeah, it's a good race. A good tour of Llyn Padarn, isn't it? And a good hill in it as well. Yeah.
A couple of good hills.
yeah. So yeah, a good one. I've done it now, 3 or 4 times, I think.
Yeah.
And I think 4 times. And it's, as I know the course quite well, so it can become quite a nice one to race as well. I know there's definitely a lot of people not racing, just enjoying it and just trying it out. But it's also got that race element too. So it's a great one to get involved in.
Hills, you got to know when to pace yourself, I think. You've got to know when the hills are coming up. But so now we have a sprint version as well, which is just like the full course is a kind of figure of 8. So we have a sprint version, which is just the first loop, and that's it's about 6.5K, but it kind of takes in all the fun kind of bits through the lagoons and some fun bits through the trees as well. So that's a good one. So that makes it even more accessible. And we have solos and team entries, so there's something for everyone really. And kids from age 10 can take part, so you can come and do it with they can come and do it with their parents. So
brilliant. That is good. Age 10
involved.
So that's the sprints the age 10 one can do.
So from age 10 upwards, they can do the sprint, and then from 18 you can do the full one.
Brilliant. And other exciting news, I noticed the Llanberis race has become part of the My Swimrun Championships across the world. Yeah.
Yes, that's really
congratulations.
Exciting. Yeah. Thank you. Well, and along with your Dovey X as well. So that's the two events in the UK that are part of the My Swimrun Championship. So if you want to take part, you want to come and do both of those events, and then you can qualify for the World Championships. So
yes, no, that is exciting.
We need to work on getting a UK team together, don't we? So we'll have to do another podcast about that.
Yeah, definitely. That's growing momentum, that championship series, and some great locations across Europe and one in America as well. So very, very cool. Just rewind there. So I remember there was a swim run event, I think by the same guys, Alan Anderson and his crew. Did it go to the top of Snowdon?
They did. So Alan was the guy that organised the event I did in Loch Lomond. So that's how I met him. And he then got in touch with me and said, he wanted to organise a swim run in Wales as well. So that ran in 2016. So we were kind of both organising something at the same time. So it was a bit of kind of friendly rivalry going on.
Yeah.
But he wanted to do something kind of big and epic, whereas I was more about making it small and accessible. So he wanted to do one that went all across the mountains of Snowdonia and up to the summit of Snowdon. But the problem with the national park is getting permissions for things like that, and mostly swimming in the lakes. So they're very precious about the lakes, and obviously there's all the risk of transferring invasive species if you're going to be swimming in more than one lake. So he didn't get permission to do the swims. So what he did was he still did the swim run, but he made the swims optional kind of timeouts. So you could either sit by the lake and wait, or you could go for a swim while you were waiting, which seemed very strange way of doing it. Which I think is why it only happened once.
Right. Yeah.
So,
I do remember. Yeah.
So I think Attila had actually tried to do something on Snowdon, because when I was researching doing stuff, I came across like a holding page for a kind of Snowdon swim run that was an Attila thing. So they'd obviously failed on the permission side of things as well and given up.
Yeah, guys, it is. Appreciate the work that goes into all this permission stuff. It's complex and
it's very hard, which is why running the one in Llanberis in Padang Country Park is great, because we only use the one lake, so we don't have the problem of cross contamination between lakes during the event. But and it makes kind of dealing with access issues much easier, because we're just dealing with the country park. But actually coming on, could we talk about invasive species actually with swimrun?
Sure, I like a bit of invasive species. I'm not sure I like them.
So one of the things we try and be is really sort of sustainable and eco-friendly. So, and one thing that's kind of come up more and more as people have started using, lakes for swimming and stand-up paddleboarding more and more, is the problem of the cross-contamination of invasive species. So what we're having is plants or animals, creatures that are kind of not native, that are being spread into our waterways and then causing big problems, like plants that can kind of grow and suffocate the lakes, or other creatures that will outcompete our native species. So one thing we need to be really careful of, especially if you're training and you're swim running and you're going through different bodies of water, is being really mindful that these creatures and plants can hitchhike potentially on your gear or on your clothing, and you can spread them from one lake to another, and it's a really serious issue. And it's actually come up now. There's problems now in Llyn Padan where a weed has now become a problem, and is spreading and is starting to get in the way. It's all around the lagoons and the pontoons. So we're having to be extra careful, educating people when they come to make sure they don't bring any species on their kit and clothes, but also now making sure that they're super aware that the weed is in the lake and they need to be really careful not to spread that the next time they go swimming. So this really, really important thing to do. So we talk about clean, check and dry. So always clean your kit really, really well before or after you swim anywhere. Dry it really, really thoroughly, so nothing's going to survive as well. So just bear that in mind.
What kind of weed? Do you know what the weed is called that's popped up there?
It's the curly pond weed. So it's that kind of the kind of weed you'll find like on long strands with curly bits. That's called like oxygenating weed. There's in fact two different ones. I forget the technical names. A Nuttall's weed is the other one. So curly pond weed and Nuttall's weed. So
Okay. Good info there. Yeah, definitely, guys. Wash your shoes, especially your wetsuits, all your gear. And also the paddle sports guys, I guess. There's
lots of people using and stuff. Easy to get bits of weed stuck on them. So super important.
Yeah. And I know the Frog Graham round up in the Lake District has got some rules around that. And it's on the agenda, but it's quite low down, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think it's just raising awareness. I think this is great to talk about it now. It's just I think a lot of people just aren't aware, and I think once you make people aware, they can just be a bit more careful about it. And if you're going to kind of go and do multiple swims somewhere in a day, make sure you use clean kit for each one. Yeah.
And so, have you got any swim runs you'd like to do? I know you've eased off on the running a little bit, I think. But
I have. I've had some injuries. In fact, so I haven't really been running for the last 2 years. So I've really missed out on actually taking part in swimrun. And funnily enough, I've just been diagnosed as being hypermobile. So I've been just starting a new kind of fitness program, which is all to do with trying to fix all my little muscles and stabilize my joints. So I'm really hoping, if this works, that in the next sort of 6 months I'll be able to start running again. So I'm actually quite excited about looking for some swim runs to do. So yeah, I've got, there's lots I'd like to do, because I had done quite a few in the past. And I mean, there's so many good ones now in the UK. There's, more and more coming out that look great. I'd like to come and do your WX one. That looks great. Because I love swimming in the sea. But yes, I did some great ones abroad. So I did a lovely one in Spain, in a little village called Cadacas, that was lovely, and I'd love to go back and do that again. And I actually came second in that one, so I was super pleased. So yeah, I think I need to go back and do that one again.
Nice to podium.
Yeah.
Didn't you do one in Biarritz? Did you do one down there?
I did one with my friend in Biarritz. Yeah, that was interesting as well. That was quite, the sea was very choppy. There was a lot of kind of just out and back around a buoy. The swims were mostly just kind of out around a buoy and back. So not too exciting in terms of it wasn't so much of a adventurous coastline, but it was still good fun. I tell you what though, like the kind of European races, they know how to do an event, don't they? There's always like massive banners, and I'm sure it's a big thing, like
yeah they do. They are good. And do you think with the growth of it feels like in the UK there's a lot of events this year in 2024. Do you think there's enough participants to go around for this year, or is it going to be one of those?
I think it's still a really niche sport in the UK. I think that with so many events, we are spreading ourselves a bit thinly now. I think it's difficult. I mean, I get a lot of people coming back year on year to do my event. People love it, but I think obviously the more events there are, the more people will think, oh, well, perhaps I ought to go and try something different. And I think especially with the cost of living at the moment, people can only do so many events, and swim runs are not cheap events to take part in. So, as much as people might want to do all of them, they're going to have to pick and choose. So I think the more there are, the harder it is going to be to get participants, entering, which is, fair enough, totally understand that. So I think it's just really important now that we try and kind of increase the awareness of swimrun and get more people into swimrun, that's why these kind of shorter accessible routes are really important. And hopefully, as the number of races grow, the number of participants will also grow, and it would be great to see that happening.
And speaking of that, growing that audience, I think you're going down to the expo with a good few of us, National Outdoor Expo.
So a group of the swimrun organisers have come together, and we've got a little stand at the Outdoors Expo in March in Birmingham at the NEC. I'll be there hopefully on the Saturday afternoon and the Sunday, if anybody wants to come and chat. But it'll be really lovely to get together with all you guys as well. Some of I've chatted to most of you, but it'd be nice to meet the others as well. And hopefully if we work together, we can kind of build the sport as a whole, and work together. It would be good.
So that's guys, that's the 23rd and 24th of March down in Birmingham, National Outdoor Expo. I know lots of you might have heard of it because they have all sorts, don't they, down there? I was looking at the details on the Nauka. Some of you will have heard of Nauka. They organise venues and other stuff. They've got a lake, and there's going to be swimming option. I think it's free swimming, and there's also going to be a special limited edition. They've called it a splash and dash, 400-meter swim and 2K run. So all the details I was just looking earlier. It's on the Nauka website. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be there. Hopefully there'll be lots of people interested in swim run. So check it out. And it's something to do in March, isn't it?
You can pick up free tickets, can't you? So
that's right. Free tickets, guys. I'll put the link in. Well, the code's SwimRun UK in capitals. So I'll link to it. So good stuff. So Chloe, you might be coming back from your injury. That's good to hear. And with your hypermobility, so does that mean you're quite flexible?
That's right. So I always thought I knew what hypermobility was, as in means you're kind of too flexible or your joints aren't so stable. But it's actually much more complicated than that. It can affect, it can affect your whole body, like your digestive system and your brain. You can be much more predisposed to other sort of health conditions with it, depression and things like that. So yeah, it's been quite interesting finding out about it. So now I'm basically having to do lots of balance exercises, lots of core exercises, making sure that I've got good control of my spine and things like that. So I was doing quite heavy weightlifting, and I've had to really change my fitness sort of plan at the moment. So yeah, right. I think I might do a little article about it, because it's quite interesting, and I should suspect it's quite common, but people probably, there's probably quite a lot of people with hypermobility that don't really know about it, like I didn't. I never thought I was that stretchy, but there's some few tests you can do to find out. So I was having these kind of niggly issues all the time, and right. It's probably quite a common thing for perhaps people be interested to know about it and look into it for themselves.
Yeah, that would be good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be cool. Another little project for you there.
Like I haven't got enough work.
So, and I was going to ask about. So I had Jude Palmer from down in South East Swimrun.
Yeah.
Because you're a female, I figured I'd ask the question we had for Jude.
Yeah.
What do you wear on, an extra skin, if it's a bikini or bra, or what, when you've done your...
Yeah, I tend to wear so there's a company called Runderwear that do kind of nice seamless underwear. So they do like little kind of boy shorts. So they're like little sort of tight fitting boxer shorts. I wear those underneath my wetsuit, and then I'll wear like a sort of pullover sports bra, just like a kind of stretchy sports bra thing. And then I tend to I've got like a little seamless rash vest that I'll put on sort of underneath, and then my wetsuit on top. But I get really cold in the water. That's one of my problems, and that was one of the things I'd say about with a team member as well. Being kind of same swim pace is more important than running, I'd say, because if you've got to wait around for someone in the water, you're going to get cold. And I do tend to get really cold, so I'll often even wear like a long sleeve thermal rash vest underneath my wetsuit, and I wear a long sleeve wetsuit as well. A lot of these wetsuits now, they do cut off arms, like, don't they, with these arm sleeves. I find that I would get too cold in those. I have to have like a wetsuit with long sleeves. So so I just try and find comfortable sort of seamless underwear, but make sure you try it out before you go racing in it. And also bear in mind that when you're in salt water, it's quite abrasive as well. So even if you've tried something and you've been swimming a lot in it in a lake, once you get in the sea with it, it's a different kettle of fish. You'll very quickly find that it'll rub a lot more quickly. So any little seams and things, you want to make sure you try that out, or just stick loads of Sudocrem or Vaseline on. Good tip there about the sea, especially if your races in the sea, train in the sea. If you can. I know if you live in where Birmingham, it's difficult, but if you can. So thank you, Chloe. That was good. That was great tip there. So it sounds like you have quite a few layers under the old wetsuit there. I'm old, and I like to layer up a bit.
Good stuff. Well, Chloe, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great to chat as ever, and we'll see you in March for sure.
Yes.
And have a good time with the hypermobility exercises.
Yes, thank you. I shall let you know how I get on.
Good stuff. Okay, thanks a lot, Chloe. Speak soon.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. What a great chat with Chloe there, covering not only swimrun, but biodiversity, hypermobility, lots of great topics, all relevant. I noticed it cut out, we were talking about towing a little bit on Chloe's first swim run. And it's quite common back in those days, your first swim run, it was, he didn't really know what to do. So towing was quite an advanced skill, if you like. So I just checked. Chloe didn't use a tow on that first one. So to eliminate, if you are racing in a team and one swimmer is slower, the old bungee tow system works really well. Something to work towards is either getting your partner to get faster at swimming, or finding a partner who's a similar swim speed, and having the option of not relying on the tow. Being able to swim on someone's feet consistently is a great skill, and something to maybe aim for in the future. But certainly when you're starting out with Swimrun in a team, the tow system is great. Just practice it. As I say, when I've raced with my sister before, and we've done pretty well, and she's done very well with her husband as well. She's not a very good swimmer at all. She's and she won't mind me saying that. But the tow system, she's a very good runner, and the tow system just makes it work and makes the team work. So anyway, enough about that. Thanks for listening once again. There's quite a lot of links to put in the show notes. I'll try and remember all of them. But for now, it's Happy Valentine's Day. Oh, speaking of Valentine's Day, which is coming up, maybe a good present for your loved one could be a swimrun entry, or a team's swimrun entry. Do it with your partner. Maybe that will work well. Maybe it won't. Okay. Love you.